Suffer the Children is the name of Marilyn Wedge's new book. She is a family therapist in California, a family therapist who focuses on children.
Yes, that's correct.
Have you always done that? You do a lot of marriage therapy too.
Well, sometimes child therapy is marriage therapy because sometimes it's a matter of sorting out the problems in the marriage. But I always keep the focus on the child. That's why I call my method child-focused family therapy.
Okay, so a Ted Bundy or a son of Sam, a serial killer, an Osama bin Laden. How do you take that back to the family, the early years, or do you?
Well, you know, I don't know about these particular people, but the way I see it, mental health problems are family problems or relationship problems, like all of us. If we have good relationships in our lives, whether with a spouse or significant other, whether with friends, if we have good relationships, our children are going to grow up healthy, and we're going to be healthy.
How early do you need to catch a behavior that's, I guess, out of line is the right question. I mean, I'm not saying it's the child's fault.
Right.
But how important is it to catch it early?
Early intervention is really everything. If you, like I had a family come in, at the first sign of trouble, the first note home from the teacher, your daughter might have ADHD, a little 6-year-old girl in first grade, and the parents came in and they said, well, the teacher thinks she might have ADHD. But the mother had been reading about the side effects of psychiatric medications for ADHD, stimulant medications, and she did not want to medicate. So I dealt with it. It was, the parents were fighting. The father wanted to move back to Ohio, and the mother didn't want to do that because she was a native Californian. She didn't want to leave her family. They were having some fights. So once I found out the source of the problem, which was not, we did not have to label ADHD in the end, asked the parents not to fight in front of the daughter, to turn off the TV when you're not watching it. Don't expect her to do her homework when the television is on. Limit certain kinds of stimulation at home, and a few other things, and the teacher stopped sending notes home. Early intervention is the key.
What I hear you saying is try everything but pills. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure, last
therapy
resort.
And put the family together, all of those things. You have a defiant 4-year-old.
Right.
Firstly, you have to look at what's natural, what's not.
Right.
You know,
what's behaving like a boy and what's not.
Or a girl, for that matter.
A girl,
when
right.
you think of what would have happened to, when I think of what would have happened to me in this day and age, because of how I acted out as a child. Like immediately pills, drugs, something. So when you see a child who is sad, like terribly sad, there's a young boy in the book, and he cries all the time, and he's sobbing.
Brian, right, right. And so, yeah, this boy, 10 years old, named Brian, and actually he lived in another country. His father happened to be in LA, and he heard about me, so he came in and he said, you know, my son has been depressed. It came out of the blue. He started being very depressed, cried, refused to go to school. The psychiatrist said he had school phobia. He's been in therapy for 6 months, and there's been no change. And he just sobs every morning. He won't go to school. Even if my wife walks him, he just refuses. So I gave him some instructions to take home to his wife to use with the child. My guess was that the mother was depressed because the father traveled so much. He had a very demanding job, and he had to travel. So I asked the parents to do this. The mother was to tell the child 2 good things that she was looking forward to in her day every morning. And then in the evening, she was to tell Brian 2 good things that had happened in her day. And she had to plan good things for herself. The mother and father had to stop fighting anywhere near the house. If they wanted to have an argument, they were to go out to dinner or have lunch together and have their arguments there. And the other big strategy was to tell Brian 3 good things about himself every day. his
we
own.
all need that.
We all need that. I know.
So what about a single parent, a single
Right.
mother, a single father? How do you
Right.
work with a kid who only has one parent?
Right. Well, I have a case of Laura in the book, and her mother was a single mother. Her husband had died tragically in a motorcycle accident. And Laura, when she came in, was taking 8 pills a day for anxiety, depression, and ADHD. And the mother, it turned out that the mother was coming home and talking to Laura about all the stresses at her work. And the poor girl was taking the burden on her own shoulders, taking in the mother's problem, internalizing it, and it made her feel depressed. So once I discovered that what was going on, I was able to work with the mother. She was a single mother. She had a boyfriend, but she was raising Laura herself. And I asked her not to talk about any troubles or anything negative in front of her daughter.
Sure, you can be honest, but
Right.
it's nice if you can say, you know, Mom doesn't have a job right now, but I'll get one. Don't worry about it, because don't we want all of our children to know the truth, but
Right.
but to somehow know that you're resilient and somehow you'll pick yourself up, dust yourself off,
Right.
and find a new job. There was a father in the book. His wife had died. Shiloh was the child, and the dad thought, I have to do that. I don't have a wife, they
Right.
don't have a mother.
Right.
I have to do the best for my child, and he sent Shiloh to private school.
Right.
It didn't work out.
It didn't work out. She was very unhappy because she'd gone to public school and she had good friends. And although she was very bright and had no learning disabilities, she was getting D's and F's in this very wonderful private girls' school. And she was, I met with the father and Shiloh, and then I talked with Shiloh alone, and she told me that the girls were mean. She hated the girls at her new school. And I said, well, what about at your old school? Because she was in, I think, the 6th grade, and I said, aren't girls mean at your old school? She said, no. I've known them for my whole life, and I am very close friends with 2 of them, and I really would do better if I went to that school.
So sometimes parents just have to be flexible, even though with the best intentions, my mother would have said, tough it out.
Right. Well, these days, the father thought she had ADHD and wanted to get her medication.
Okay.
So that's the difference.
Right. Rather than medication, change schools.
Change schools.
If you have a child all through life who could be sad or rambunctious or bored, that's normal. And many parents struggle with what's normal, what's not. Like
Right.
a child who wants to commit suicide, not normal.
Not normal at all. So there's a child in the book, an 11-year-old boy named Drake, whom came in. They came in on a weekend. It was kind of emergency because Blake was threatening to hang himself. And the parents were distraught, very upset. And so they came in, and I talked to Blake alone, and he told me that his father had been laid off his job, and that his parents were fighting about money all the time. And I said, well, did you really try to hang yourself? And he said, no, actually my feet were on the floor, but it just looked like I had a noose and I was going to hang myself because I just wanted the parents to focus on me and not on money.
So he was helping, supposedly.
Right.
What does it take to defeat a problem permanently with a child without drugs?
Without drugs. It takes doing what the family therapist says. It takes going to a family therapist, letting the family therapist assess the problem and decide on the solution. See, we go into sessions already having a strategic plan. We just don't go in and ask people to talk to us.
Okay.
So we know what we're looking for. So that's why family therapy is brief therapy. So 6 to 8 sessions of family therapy, and maybe with a tune-up once in a while.
Right.
That's what it takes.
Sure, but do you find parents try to sabotage it?
There are occasionally parents who are divided within themselves. One part of them wants to help their child. The other part of them doesn't want to do what the doctor says. So
It takes a family to treat a problem.
it takes a family to treat a problem.
How nice to meet you.
Very nice, Fanny. Thank you.
Marilyn Wedge suffered the children, the case against labeling and medicating and an effective alternative.